Hello out there. Welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the Internet College of Infinite Knowledge. My co-pilot for this evening's festivities, none other than the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric D. Smith. How are you tonight, Mr. Smith?
Me?
Yes, you, sir.
I'm doing fine.
You just doing fine?
No, I'm doing spectacular. Fan-groove-alicious, to coin 3 phrases at once.
I probably shouldn't put so much emphasis on having you actually come up with something that you're feeling there instead, because it does kind of.
I'm holding back, man.
Are you really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a good thing, I suppose.
It
right?
is. But I went with the full-on fan-groove-alicious, though.
I like Fan-groove-alicious, yeah. So,
fantastic, groovy, delicious.
I was gonna say it's a derivative of like fantastic, right?
Yeah, fantastic, groovy, and delicious. Fan-groove-alicious.
Fan-groove-alicious, I love it.
Spectacular, even.
So
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Yeah.
Now, okay, you're getting a little crazy now.
I said I was holding back.
You were indeed. Sitting in the engineering booth and ready to reset the Chihuahua, our in-house engineer and Bond villain, Mr. Devlin. How are you this evening, Mr. Devlin?
I'm doing okay.
Yay, Mr. Devlin. All right, let's reset the Chihuahua. The show has officially started. Back to 0 spins.
No show until the Chihuahua respins.
Yeah, now the show's officially started. We've reset the Chihuahua. We keep forgetting to do that. It's sort of, I don't know. Anyway, I thought it was a funny thing.
It is. The Chihuahua is definitely a funny thing.
So we're joined again here this evening. A nice cozy fire.
Oh, yes. It's going to be bad when spring and summer comes.
Yeah, we won't be using that way anymore. You'll be able to see the reflection of our monitor in the... I haven't figured out what I'm going to do about that yet. I might just still leave it open.
Yeah.
So the reflection isn't quite as bad. Ooh, that booger's getting warm. We had us an incident here a couple days ago with this, Mr. Devlin and I, though, didn't we, Mr. Devlin?
It sucked.
He was live streaming because he does, what's it called? You do Twitch.
Yep.
Twitch Live. So if people want to watch your live streams, how do they find it? If they know what you're talking, because I don't know any of this stuff, but
It's https://www.twitch.tv/gemsas.com.
okay.
Now, what is this?
JEMXAS, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just being silly.
So he was in the middle of a live stream, and I asked him, I said, hey, man, you want a fire tonight? And he was like, yeah, man, that'd be great. So I said, cool, I'll build a fire. Well, I forgot to open the flue. And you can actually see in his live stream, if you go back and look at his previous live stream, he's going to put it up here for us. It's on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, but you can see the smoke and everything. And look at how bad it is. The kid, I'm back there trying to, I got the flue open, but it had smoked up too much, and I didn't have enough heat going up the chimney.
You see it drifting between him and the camera.
Oh, it was bad. It got to a point where he was like, look at, he's rubbing his eyes, and she's like, I can't see.
Man.
That poor kid. And, people in his live stream were, messaging him and stuff. What were they saying to him? You guys okay? You need to leave the house.
I think you'll see it in a second.
Holy cow! Look, it's so bad. Yeah, it was so bad. So I totally completely smoked. Oh no! Yeah, someone's like, oh no. I had it under control. I just want everybody to know.
Clearly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of this story is if you're going to build a fire, make sure the flue's open. Whoops. Look, you can see me walking around in the background back there, too. Like, what the hell? His eyes are burning.
There's an agony.
He's asked me at one point, he's like, should we open up? I'm like, no, we can't let this in the rest of the house. Your stepmom will kill me. I was terrified, right? So he's trying to play this live stream, and this is going on in the background. Those are the perils of live streaming, ladies and gentlemen.
Live.
You'll notice, though, he didn't log off or stop the live stream and help me in any way.
Oh,
at
no, he
all.
has full confidence.
You
in
said
you.
you had it under control.
Yeah, it's full confidence.
Yeah, it
in
says, he had no concern that I was burning the house to the ground, though.
The show must go on.
Oh, shit.
But I won that round, so it's okay.
Yay.
So I don't have a show question story. I thought that was funny. So have you ever
Yeah.
accidentally almost burnt the house down? Or made it at least look like, I mean, we were in no peril here. I opened the flue, and it just had to take some time to get the smoke to clear out and eventually draft it out nice and clear. But
Almost started a fire in a field once in Texas, but never burnt any houses down or anything.
no,
No.
thank goodness for that.
I got a survival knife in my Christmas stocking one year. It had matches in the hilt.
Oops.
I decided I need to go outside.
Well, was
and
that like
make
one of them
fire.
John Rambo things that had a
Yes.
compass and all that
Yes.
kind of stuff in it? Yeah,
Yeah.
those were huge for a while. Like
They
everybody had one of those gaudy things.
Turns out there's a lot of dry brush in Texas that's readily to catch on fire.
Oh boy, I'll bet, especially in the summer.
I was lucky I was near a lake when I actually set fire to the thing I was setting fire to, and somebody left like a half a milk jug down by the water, and I was able to actually go and get water and pour on it.
Okay.
It was spreading fast. I mean, I probably spent a good 15 minutes trying to get it under control. It almost just got out of control and would have burnt acres.
Yeah, I'll bet. Well, yeah, because that stuff gets out of like you said, gets out of control fast. That's
Yeah.
what it's called a wildfire for a reason, right? It goes wild.
That's
so
what I knew I wasn't going to survive no matter how many matches I had in my Rambo knife.
terrifying youth life experiences. How about you, Mr. Devlin? Do I want to know?
Have I almost set fire to anything? Remember that piece of toast, 8th grade, first day?
No.
We were getting ready for my first day of 8th grade, and I was going to make some toast. And usually a toaster pops up when it's finished.
Yeah.
That one was broken.
Oh no.
And then the fire alarm started going off. And then you and Des both got it.
It's like, what the hell?
You had a burnster.
I vaguely remember it, dude. There were so many with you four.
So many fires.
No, just so many incidences. And I mean, again, like we discussed in the last show, I perpetrated a lot of them myself, right? You know, like we ambushed them one time last day of school with water balloons. I had like a big water balloon war when they were coming home from school last day. It was fun, and we were always doing stuff like that. So who knows?
You guys like swatted us out of the van.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we had the van. We were like hiding in the back of the van, and then like they come up and they're like, "What's this?" There's a bucket of balloons, and then we had left a note that said something like, "Arm yourselves and get ready." And they're like, "What?" And we opened the van. Oh, we got like water balloons. We just started pelting them with water balloons. I mean, if you gotta have kids, you gotta have to be able to, you know.
Yeah.
You gotta swat them out of the van.
Every
Yeah,
now
the
and
water
then, man,
balloons,
it's a
definitely.
must-do type thing, right?
If there would have been paintball guns, it would have been paintball guns.
Would have just been on, yeah. We'd have lit them. Well, because see, then it would have been like, hey, make sure you put the safety glasses on. We thought about it. We figured water balloons was the safest thing we could do without risking. Dude, we built the wing of the emergency room department with these four. I can't even tell you. There was months on end where we weren't at the emergency room 2, 3, 4 times a month.
Good.
With 4 kids, all of them in sports. It was nuts. Like the sickness between that or us. Like I rammed a knife through my hand. I mean, we were just like constantly there. It was like, could we just have a month where I'm not at this hospital? You know? Anyway, I'm sorry. What?
Can we talk about how you're Rufus?
How I'm Rufus?
Yes. Because that's linked to that story, and I love that story.
It was no. Rufus was born out of an experience with a different kid.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was the same.
No, that
thing.
wasn't Nathaniel.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that was another kid. But that my nickname comes from have this kid kept asking me what my name was over and over and over. Cute little kid, like little John Lennon. She had like these little John Lennon wireframe glasses, and all of her front teeth were missing. And she was this little sweetheart. And she kept going, "Hey, Mister, what's your name? Hey, Mister, what's your name?" And I kept telling her, my name's Matt. My name's Matt. She just kept asking me. So finally, I was like, she's not remembering this. So I was just like, Rufus. My name's Rufus, right? And then it just turned into this thing. That's kind of how it happened. So I don't know if you can technically nickname yourself, but I sort of did, just messing with a kid.
Mm-hmm.
But no, the stabbing of the hand was cutting something with a child running by and turning the knife to be like, oh, there's a kid, and it slipped and went wham right into the meat of my hand.
Doesn't sound good.
And then
Yeah, that's not good.
And then off to the emergency
Yeah.
room.
Well, what other nicknames
Again.
did you have?
Duckman, because of the way I walk. That was a big one. Coach in the Navy. I was coach.
Yep.
Yep.
I remember Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Although I
From-
wasn't there when you were in the Navy.
Because you taught a sports team?
No, coach in the Navy because I taught. It actually came from shooting pool, believe it or not. But then I became I was in the line division for a long time, and I was plane captain trainer. I did ground support equipment training. Like I trained people how to do jobs. So it sort of stuck because of that. Because there's a lot of people out there. Mike Barnett, who's been on the show, his plane to become a plane captain or an air marshal, the airplane wrangler, you had to go through like this board certification type process. And part of that was having your superiors that were already qualified for the job train you and check you out on certain action items, like putting air in the tire of an airplane. Sounds like a very municipal thing, but because of the places that these airplanes land on aircraft carriers and the violence with which they hit the flight deck, these tires have like 350 psi in them and things. So there's inherent danger to a lot of this stuff. Point being is that you had to go through this board certification process to make sure that you could do these jobs and weren't going to hurt yourself or somebody else, right? So that's what I mean. There's a lot of plane people. Mike Barnett, like half his plane captain books full of my signature from checking him out because he was one of the guys I trained on a lot of the ground support equipment stuff at the time. I don't know what the point of that was. What were we talking about?
I was asking you if you had any other nicknames.
Well, coach. Okay, that's how coach.
What that meant.
That's where coach came from, was from doing all that training and stuff. But it started as a game of pool in which I was instructing somebody how to shoot. And we were playing like teams, and I kept telling my partner what shots to take and how to shoot, and my partner was nailing them. I couldn't hit shit, but my partner was nailing them. So, this is how things like this in the military work. Prior to me getting the nickname Coach, my nickname was Spew, as in to vomit.
Well, you've upgraded on the nicknames.
I upgraded.
Haven't you?
Luckily, my comrades in arms there, they upgraded me. But
Yeah.
that came from a physical training qualification thing that we had to do, like, it was semi-annually. I can't remember. It was like either every quarter or every 6 months or something. You had to be able to pass a physical qualification test. So even though, like, once you're active duty military, there ain't a whole lot of, hey, we're going to the gym today, right? You're in the Navy. It's like you're sort of have a job on this boat, and it's sort of up to you to make sure you can still pass your physical requirement tests in a lot of ways. Now, some jobs are different. Like the guys that are in the SEAL teams are always training together, so they stay very physically fit. And air crewmen, these people that do these real physical jobs tend to stay pretty physically fit. But the job position I was in, that wasn't the thing. So we drank a lot like sailors do and ate a lot like sailors do when we could, and partied a lot. So and worked hard, but it wasn't necessarily conducive to staying in tremendous cardiovascular physical condition. So we had these tests, and I got to the end of the test, and I threw up at the end of the run. So then my nickname for a while was Spew. But it very quickly morphed into Coach after I was hanging out with the guys one night. So, and then that stuck. Like, that's what's on my flight jacket, is my nickname is Coach.
Oh, that's cool.
Not Spew. It would have been Spew because you don't really get to pick it per se.
Yeah.
And you can, but then they'll make fun of you, and then that's really bad.
Ace Hunter.
You can think you can put. Yeah, you ain't. Nobody in the Navy picks their own call sign, is what they call it in the Airedale community, right? But it's a nickname. So that's the one probably that stuck with me the longest is Coach from the military.
Any nicknames, Devlin?
Dev.
Boo. When you were
Boo.
a baby,
Yeah, Boo Bear.
You were Boo Bear for a long time. Cute little son of a bitch, man. He was so cute. Good
Yeah.
Lord, you were cute. God. He could just smile the pants off of anybody. It was awful. Like, he still can. Charming bastard. I hate it.
I like Kiernan's nickname a lot though too.
What's his?
Scooter.
Scooter. Yeah, like from, he was like from Kermit the
Yeah.
Frog. Scooter is his nephew or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think my daughter was Peepers. Yep, there's Scooter. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they all got nicknames when they were little, and then at some point it just like faded away. It was weird. Probably when you started going to school and stuff, and around your friends and peers, we had to start using your real names.
Oh, yeah. All right then.
Well,
I say now that I would really. I was like, I wouldn't have minded,
you
but
wanted,
I don't know.
You wanted
when
to
I
be
was,
called Boo Bear into your
Yeah.
adult life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no,
That's
Boo.
that's
Boo's
not
cool.
Boo's not even very
When I was
Bond
younger.
villainy, don't you? I mean,
Yeah, it's scary. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about like when I was younger.
okay.
Wouldn't have been a big deal, I don't think.
Like if you were trying out for the soccer team and
Well,
they
dude,
put
you know I don't
Boo
do.
on the back of your.
Yeah.
Von Boonstein.
You know that I don't do sports, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Sports ball. You
Yeah, I don't do sports ball.
You don't sport. You did. I coached your basketball team.
I didn't do well on that basketball
You guys
team.
did
I remember specifically.
above terrible.
I remember I did specifically went to go for a shot, my first ever like trying to make a basket, and someone trucked me out of the way. No one called foul.
No, Mike missed that one. Huh?
Yeah.
It was
So-
a fun. It was like a little kids basketball league. I had some good man. I had so much fun coaching those little bastards. I really did. They were so much fun. It was a fun. It was fun. Neat. It was neat to see kids that were, sort of not competitive, like aggressively competitive, or were afraid to be aggressively competitive, and to be able to sort of draw that like ferociousness out of them, be like, look, this is what you can get. That's the way I coach basketball. I don't know if it was the right way to do it or not, but it was. My point was to try to make every child to be able to play at their best possible potential, whatever that might be, and for them to see the value of themselves if they weren't necessarily good at one thing, that didn't matter because the team needed defensive players and not necessarily offensive players. That was kind of always my thing. Right, and to watch little kids sort of come out of their, and just one little kid, he was like shy, and his parents thanked me afterwards. But man, I really coached him up on stealing the ball and how to take the ball without drawing the foul. And because he was shorter than all the other kids in his age group, I was like, that's perfect for you because you're much closer to, you can get much closer to the ball than they can.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and then he turned into like this little defensive demon, man. And it just completely changed him that he could excel with these kids, even though they were all so much bigger than him, by using what he had available. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was cool, man. I used to get like gift cards and stuff to like restaurants and things for coaching the teams. And I mean, I didn't expect any of that. I just did it because I loved it.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun coaching these guys.
That's
yeah.
cool.
Scouts, I didn't like at all.
They're going bankrupt anyway.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, there's a lot of lawsuits
Yes.
for sexual assault cases.
Yeah,
and
they
things.
should have been selling some of those Girl Scout cookies because they need the money.
Well, this was not my experience with the Scouts. I think like it wasn't that Scouts did anything wrong. It was how long you didn't. Did you ever get a badge? Did any of you guys, you or your brother, ever get a single badge?
No.
It was like
We hung out with our friends.
that was what they did. That was what Scouts
Yeah.
was like. So finally one day I looked at him. I said, "Dude, we're spending all this money. Are you like even going to? Are you interested in this at all?" And they were like, "Not really."
Let's just save the money and invite everybody over here.
Yeah, let's just have like sleepovers or something. So that's what he did. He just started like hanging out with his friends. I was like, it cost me a lot less money to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all he wanted to do. And they used to take him, even though he wasn't like actively going to Scouts. When they would have the trips and things, he would still go. So he didn't miss out on a lot.
Mhm.
Just saved a lot of money and hassle and ugh. Never a badge, anyway, huh? He's back there going, no.
Definitely not the knot tying badge.
Not the knot tying badge, huh?
That was one of the jokes in that troop was no one could tie a knot, even though a Boy Scout should know how to tie a knot.
That's like Boy Scouts 101. I think we let you guys down on it's like,
on the scout experience.
yeah, I think it was a bunch of it because all of us were nerds. All of us, all the dads that were doing it, were all nerds. All of us were an engineer. We had a guy that was like a map cartographer. It was like a real interesting group of scouts. It was just a bunch of nerd kids, and anyway. Anyway, so you guys want to do some articles?
Sure, man.
Sounds good.
Where are we at on the Chihuahua?
150? Oh, wait.
270 spins on the Chihuahua.
Wow.
Good deal. All right, so this first one, I actually shared this on the No Shit pages too on Facebook and stuff because, and we're not gonna go real deep into the subject matter. It's more what the subject matter means is the reason why I sort of picked this article. Who's this from, Devlin?
This article is by Nature.com. Avalanche of spider paper retractions shake behavioral ecology community. So
the reason why I like this article is because what's happened here, and we'll go into it just a little bit, but somebody's fabricated some data. And this is from 13th of February, 2020. So this is fairly recently, okay? And from the headline, and I perused this one. What I like about this is that the scientific community, when they find out something like this, when they find out that someone has falsified data, when they find out that something was mismeasured, when they find out whatever it is that could possibly pollute the result
of what the truth is.
Of what the truth is, they immediately start telling everybody.
Yeah.
They retract it. They explain why it's retracted. It's very well documented and exposed. And this is why I trust science and scientists above pretty much anybody else.
Yeah.
Okay? Because not that they don't make mistakes, right? Because they do. Sometimes on purpose.
Yes.
Is what we're going to see here. However, when it's found out,
Everybody
excuses are
knows.
not made for what's happened to try to preserve the predetermined false truth, right? That's not what happens in science. It's exposed, it's ripped open. The opposite of pretty much everything else as a philosophy, okay, is why I like science so much more.
And it can ruin someone's career if they did it on purpose.
For sure. It destroys the credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
And it destroys the credibility in a realm that a lot of people care about, as opposed to having your credibility destroyed in a realm that only a certain select group of people care about.
For sure. Like a smaller cross section.
Yeah, because that means you will never go to those heights again of being in that arena, and you're essentially now going to be playing your gigs at county fairs.
Right. Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't do. This is like there's a if there's a sanctity to anything, it's the sanctity to the truth of data and things like this, and it'll end you quickly. Allegations of fabricated data have prompted a university investigation and some soul searching. A complex web is unraveling in the field of spider research. 5th of February, McMaster University in Hamilton, Canada, confirmed that it was investigating allegations that behavioral ecologist Jonathan Pruitt fabricated data and at least 17 papers on which he was a co-author. Not the author, but at least a co-author. So this is how, so anything this guy has touched, now the scientific community has to then come back and say, any of this could be tainted. So we have to explain all of the things now that this person's touched.
Yeah.
Or that this person's data has touched. Since concerns about his work became public in late January, scientists have rushed to uncover the extent of questionable data in Pruitt's studies. Publishers are now trying to keep up with requests for retractions and investigations. According to a publicly available spreadsheet maintained by Daniel Bolnick, an evolutionary biologist at the University of Connecticut in Storrs, 7 papers have been retracted or are in the process of being retracted. 5 further retractions have been requested by Pruitt's co-authors. So the people that he wrote the papers with are also out there saying, no, here's all the papers we worked with him on. Let's pull them all back.
Yeah.
Okay? And researchers have flagged at least 5 more studies as containing possible data anomalies. This is how science reacts to things like fraud and lies.
Yeah. And in general, mistakes that are made that they find and they will point out a flaw in a calculation or some logic.
Right.
So as long as in the end you get to the truth, it really doesn't matter how much you want something to be, whatever you want it to be, for whatever your reasons are for trying to make it that way.
Well, it's when people cherry pick the things that science has been wrong about. Science has been wrong about shit since science has been science. I mean, that's sort of baked. The point is that its methodology for fixing itself is baked in.
Yeah.
It's called the scientific method for a reason, right? I mean, it's like its own sort of strange ethos that permeates these communities. And to your point, how, boy, if you fabricate something or make something up, you can be persona non grata real quick in that community.
Yeah.
This one comes. Anybody got any more comments on that? I know I'm getting off my soapbox now, folks.
Rock and roll.
All right, what's our next one there, Devlin?
It's from mphys.org. Biologists identify pathways that extend lifespan by 500%.
Yeah, Devlin was really interested in this one. January 9th, 2020, so this is pretty recent. I'm always checking the dates now. We've been smoked a couple times on that. What's going on here? Anyway, scientists at the MDI Biological Laboratory, in collaboration with scientists from the Buck Institute for Research on Aging in Nevada, California, Nevada, yeah, that's what it says, and Nanjing University in China, have identified synergistic cellular pathways for longevity that amplify lifespan 5-fold. And C. elegans, a nematode worm used as a model in aging research.
Oh, there you go.
Well, that's not a human being.
No.
That's a little anticlimactic, I got to tell you, all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because that would be like, I was thinking, man, that's like 500 years.
Right. 450 anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The increase in lifespan would be the equivalent of a human living to 400 or 500 years, according to one of the scientists. We already said that.
Yeah, it's funny, according to one of the scientists. It's just math.
Glad,
but the scientists said it.
But the scientists knew how to use the multiplication. The research draws on the discovery of 2 major pathways governing aging in C. elegans, anyway, which is a popular model in aging research because it shares many of its genes with humans and because its short lifespan of only 3 to 4 weeks allows scientists to quickly assess the effects of genetic and environmental interventions to extend healthy lifespan. Maybe it is a big deal. Would you do it?
Well, yeah.
Well, we don't even know what the therapy is, though, right? It's like, oh, you have to be completely sterile or some shit,
Well, living that long would be worth a lot.
I don't know what these C. elegans things are, so I don't know. Oh, the new research uses a double mutant. That sounds like the end of the world. In which the insulin signaling IIS and TOR pathways have been I don't know what any of that means. Despite the discovery of cellular pathways at governing aging, it hasn't been clear how these pathways interact. So,
Are they some kind of planarium?
So this is one of those big words giveth and little words taketh away articles, is what this is.
That's why that dude's smiling.
Yeah, he knows, doesn't he? Let's put him back on her. Ha ha.
They're going to talk to me about my worms I made live for 4 more days.
Talk to me about my worms. That's stimulating dinner conversation.
I know, right? The wife doesn't want to hear about it.
I'm so lonely. Someone talk to me about my worms. All right, what we got up next, Mr. Devlin?
ScienceAlert.com says...
Right. Like a submarine klaxon. Can.
Scientists discover mysterious virus in Brazil with no known genes that they can identify.
Well, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
This is right on the heels of the coronavirus. What is this? Is this because we're losing so much of like the glaciers and all this kind of shit? Is that what it's?
I don't know. I believe the Yara virus was found in an artificial lake, so I have no idea
Like what it's
made out of. Yeah, it sounds to me
ancient aliens.
like it's just a combination of genetic codes that's combined in a way that's never been seen before
To date.
in an artificial lake.
In
Yeah.
an artificial lake. That's
Yeah.
what. Okay, so scientists have identified an enigmatic virus whose genome seems to be almost entirely new to science, populated by unfamiliar genes that have never before been documented in viral research. Well, that sounds terrifying.
I know, right? Because biology is pretty goddamn advanced.
Already.
I mean, we just talked about
We've-
things living 500% more.
And you have made the comment here on the show about how, like, you know, you think that biology's we kind of got everything sort of figured out now, and then boom, this turd drops in
Yeah.
the soup.
Yeah, it
It's
just
like-
pops up in your backyard lake. That you
Ugh.
built.
The so-called Yara virus, named after Yara or Lara, a water queen figure in Brazilian mythology, was recovered from Lake Pampulha.
I like it.
I'm going to swing with that.
Yeah.
An artificial lake in the Brazilian city of Belo Horizonte. Horizonte. Yeah.
Oh man.
Belo Horizonte. While Yara virus, I'm not even going to try to do the Greek pronunciation, may be no supernatural siren, the virus could prove to be just as mysterious as the water nymph of legend. I like the sounds of that, but I think it's going to be bad. That's because the virus constitutes, quote, a new lineage, an amoebal virus with a puzzling origin and phylogeny. If you
Heritage.
say so. The research team explains in a new preprint paper
I don't know, but that whole paragraph is
Preprint.
disturbing.
about the discovery.
Constitutes a new lineage of amoebal virus with puzzling origin and whatever that is.
Phylogeny.
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 Ah.
Two of the senior members of that team, virologist Bernard Lascola from someplace in Marseille, France, Marseille University, France, and Jonatas from S. Abrajo, Brazil's Federal University of Minas Gerais, ought to know what they're talking about. I don't even know who they are. 2 years ago, the pair helped to discover another water-dwelling viral novelty,
Yeah, viral.
a
novel.
giant virus found in extreme aquatic habitats. Tupin virus. That sounds like a German named it. Oh, it's the Tupin virus.
Stupid, scoping the stupid.
Tupin virus make you go pooping.
Uh-huh.
Giant viruses. I know. Don't try to figure it out, Devlin.
You
It's-
said no poopy humor.
I did.
A long time ago.
Maybe I did.
No fart jokes, no poopy humor. Oh, no.
I think I did. I shall repent for my sins.
It's all right.
And I feel shame. Giant viruses, as opposed to the regular variety, are so called because of their huge capsids. You know about a virus with a big capsid,
Oh
Bubba.
my God,
Protein shells that encapsulate virons, virus particles.
that sounds bad.
So you don't want a huge capsid.
No.
You ever see Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
Does it?
Once.
Because this is starting to feel a lot like that, right?
There's not a bad movie going on in the background.
No. These much larger viral forms were only discovered this century, but they're not only notable for their size. They also possess more complex genomes, giving them the ability to synthesize proteins and therefore perform things like DNA repair, plus DNA replication, transcription, and translation.
The bottom line is there's just a genetic grab bag of shit waiting to be found out there in odd places that potentially will destroy your DNA.
Well, the thing that terrifies me the most now is how so much of the surface of the Earth is being exposed to
All because of the warming. And
because
stuff,
of
yeah.
the way that the ice
Yeah, I'm
covering is
set up for that.
retracting. I mean, there's stuff that's being exposed to the atmosphere that hasn't been exposed to the atmosphere for thousands of years.
Yeah, millenniums. I would say yes. Keep doing that.
Well, because you're the only one that's going to survive it or have a chance of surviving
That's
it.
the hope.
Jesus, dude. What about me? You don't love me, bro?
Well, I do.
But I got to be honest.
But you got to appease the apocalyptic gods. These
For the
things...
sake of the planet or whatever, some of y'all that I love are going to have to go. God damn, dude. That's some cold shit right there.
I invite apocalypse. I always say I'm going to be the first to die.
Giant meteor of death 2020, kind of.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine, yeah.
There's already one that's passed by us already, so I don't know about that.
I didn't grab it, but I did see an article recently that was like, if you're getting your hopes up on a meteor hitting the Earth,
yeah,
you better move on to something else.
Yeah, right. I know. It would be
It's
really
so
rare.
remotely rare.
There was a meteor that passed by the Earth at 3 million miles away.
Yeah, I've seen
recently on Valentine's Day.
that. Yeah, Saturday, right?
That could have been it right there, man. But nope.
No, there was
what 15 times the distance between the moon and us?
Yeah, something like that.
That's a long ways away. Well, here's
Yeah.
the thing: if it doesn't hit us, then
it's likely not to in the near future.
ever, like, I don't know. That's the math doesn't look real good for it anyway.
Well, that's assuming nothing
Which
comes
sort of-
across its path and changes its trajectory either.
Remember that onslaught of 90s disaster
Yes,
films where they were always
Deep Impact and
asteroid movies and stuff? Yeah.
The one that had
Like everybody thought we were all going down in a fiery asteroid. It was crazy. Well, disaster films prior to 2012 were a big deal too, right?
Yeah.
How'd those pan out?
yeah, like most other ones.
Have you guys heard of Spooky the asteroid?
No.
So there was an asteroid in 2015 that was supposed to pass by sometime mid-October, and it did, and it was a 1.3 lunar distances away from the Earth.
Okay.
It was that close. It was about 50,000 miles away.
Well, shit hits the Earth every day.
Yeah, but this is like that was like a world.
It's whether it's a
ending.
world-ending size or
Yeah.
you know, bye-bye dinosaur size rock or not.
Yeah.
That's really the important part. I don't know if it's such a big deal. Just doesn't seem very likely. Did you guys see the images from Voyager's last images? It took a picture. The last image it took a picture back looking at the Earth. It's called the.
Oh yeah.
What's it called? The something
blue
blue
dot.
dot. Yeah,
Yeah.
the little blue dot or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's like this big black, and this one pixel is
Yeah.
like blue. And now Voyager. That's it. That's his. No more cameras because there's not enough sunlight to power the solar cells and the transmitters and everything. So
That was
it's headed off on its lonely.
That was taken some years ago. That was taken from Saturn.
Oh, I thought this was. Oh, so it wasn't even out of our solar system yet?
Yeah.
No, because we've got images from Pluto
Yeah, but
from the Voyagers,
but that-
right?
well,
Am I
yeah,
wrong? I might
not
be
the
wrong
Voyage-
about
well,
that.
There's some, but that particular one is like it was his 30th year anniversary, and it was,
Maybe that's why I was seeing it.
yeah,
Okay, but it's
Yeah.
still out there, right? Because in the news, it just went into
Mhm.
interstellar space, didn't
yeah,
it?
Voyager is Voyager
Mhm.
1 and 2 are still out there, going
Still
into interstellar
cruising
space.
along way
Yeah.
past their mission life.
Because we talked about that when they
Mm.
encountered the plasma and stuff. But yeah, that's a 30-year-old picture. Carl Sagan had some real famous words that he said about that picture, which I can't remember what the quote is, but it's essentially when they show the picture, like you said, it's a pixel and it's an array of light, and it was taken from the orbit of Saturn, and he says something like every person you've ever known, every person you've ever heard of, everything you've ever loved, every dream you've ever dreamt about having manifest takes place right there on that blue dot.
Yeah, look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you've ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of confident religions and ideologies and economic doctrines, every hunter and forager, every hero, coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization, every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there on a mote of dust suspended in a sunbeam.
Yeah.
What the fuck, Carl Sagan?
Yeah,
You're-
that's 30 years ago,
yeah.
1990, right?
Yeah, it said the Earth is imaged from the Voyager 1 spacecraft as it exited the solar system in 1990. Earth is nearly 4 billion miles away in this image. That's some perspective, man.
Yeah. The universe is vast. And that's the reason right there why it's fairly typically unlikely that something's going to hit the planet.
Well, it gets really lonely, folks, if we don't get shit right.
And Jupiter tends to suck up a lot of that stuff, too.
Yeah, Jupiter and Saturn. I find that really interesting, actually.
Yeah, it's because they got so much
Yeah, they sort of
mass.
play goalie, don't they? They
Yeah.
Yeah.
they like intercept stuff.
Or big,
Shoemaker-Levy comet smashed into it in like 91, 92, somewhere in that area, and that was a big deal. That was an
Well, they got to
example of
watch that happen,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And how it affected the planet. Like they can take images of it.
Remember
Go-
you showed me that picture that one day. I'm like, it looks like the Shoemaker-Levy concert or
Comet,
comet, yeah. And you looked it up, and you're like, holy shit, it does.
It is the Shoemaker-Levy comet. I'm like, you are a freak, man. Shit you remember. It's crazy. Who we got up next here, Mr. Devlin?
it's from dailydot.com. Mask that has your face printed on it allows you to unlock your phone during viral epidemics.
This is the world we live in, folks.
Uh,
It says, between fires and epidemics, masks are now part of our everyday lives. That is both creepy and functional.
I'm my own Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So the point of this is okay. Daniela Baskin was discovering with friends the growing prevalence of surgical masks. When the issue of facial recognition was brought up, how could one utilize technology such as Face ID to unlock their phone while the bottom half of their face was covered? Easy, exclaimed Baskin, a San Francisco-based artist. Just print your face on it. I guess that works. The answer seemed obvious to Baskin, who runs multiple companies that specialize in printing on curved surfaces, and within a few hours of that conversation, a website for Face ID compatible respirator masks was up and running. So there you go, folks. Necessity's the mother of invention, right? You can surf your smart device while your neighbors are dying.
Yeah.
of
You'll be fully
of
protected.
infectious diseases, right? You can,
How else are you supposed to tweet it?
Well,
right,
A-
right.
Apple did say that they might have a shortage of
Selfie,
iPhones.
plague selfie. Everybody get a plague selfie.
Contrary to
lips.
popular belief, we have plenty of documentation at the last days.
Bring out your dead. Get in your picture, you know. That was bad, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just thought that was humorous.
Yeah.
Project Baskin told the Daily Dot combines two of her passions, printing and dystopian humor.
There you go.
Like a gallows humor gal, if that's a gal. The concept appears to be a hit as well after sharing a link to her news site on Twitter.
Sure.
The request immediately came rolling in. Everybody wants a plague mask, but you still got to be able to get the selfie going, right?
1-2-2-8-7-9-8-3-8-2-5-9-8-0-0-6-4-0.
Question mark S equals 20. The product is becoming viral. It sounds like Devlin's new alarm clock. The product is becoming viral, unfortunately, she says. Even though the website clearly reads as dystopian late-stage capitalism, over 100 people have asked to be on the wait list to get a mask when the product launches.
People will wait on a wait list for so many things, from having holes drilled in their head with lasers to getting their face printed on their face.
To being sent off to Mars.
Yeah.
Well, my problem with this is that people, I mean, this is funny, but does this in any way reduce the effectiveness of the mask? Or, you know what I mean? Because it seems
Yeah.
like the ink would sort of block up the
fibers,
fibers
things that
that's supposed to
catch the
be,
shit.
so it would limit how much it could actually filter.
And I doubt it's medically tested.
Yeah, in any way. I wouldn't be selling it as safe. I mean,
Yeah.
or they're taking on tremendous liability, right? I mean, to get serious about it. Otherwise, it's really funny and it's humorous. But it should. I don't know that.
What's humorous is if a plague breaks out and there's a percentage of population that dies because they had these masks and
thinking they were safe from it.
So everybody on the streets that are dead has their own.
Their like face on their
yeah,
mask.
Yeah. And behind it, their face is contorted in pain from the death.
Yeah, but so you bury him in it. So
Yeah,
you can always see him in a positive light.
Dystopian humor.
This is fucked up, man. This is weird.
Yeah, that's a weird article.
They probably inject the ink into the mask itself, like a tattoo, so that there would still be that breathing.
It says that her company specializes in printing things on curved surfaces.
Oh,
well.
And it said that in the article.
Never mind.
Like I mean, before I'm running out and buying one and thinking that it's going to be great that I can selfie stick myself through the apocalypse, I would want to see some sort of medical, like you said, proof of efficacy of some sort before I would trust my life to it. No, actually, you know what? This is a device meant so that stupid people kill themselves.
It could
I shouldn't say that.
That could be the herd thinning process.
Right? I say that. What?
Okay.
Time to move on to another.
That was pretty harsh.
I've said this before that I've considered starting a what do you call that? A conspiracy theory that the government has been hiding from us that the microwave radiation in your microwave will actually give you superpowers. So and then tell people how to defeat this interlock switch on their microwave so that they'll microwave themselves and stupid people will kill themselves. It's pretty dark, man.
I feel like that's a giant amount of people that would do that.
It's scary, right?
It's scary.
I feel like we could just say it's a truism. Stupid people will kill themselves.
Have you ever seen the rides, the death rides? Have you ever seen those?
Carnival rides?
No, there's rides that have been designed. You can look this up, Devlin, like roller coasters that are designed to kill you.
No.
There's actual amusement park rides. This is the kind of shit look. He's gonna look it up and
like
find
spectator amusing, presumably.
No,
what the shit?
See, I'm not even kidding. Euthanasia coasters.
Coaster.
Yeah, it's a euthanasia device that's meant to give you the most thrilling experience of your life as it kills you. So it's like a roller coaster. Open one of those up so we can see it. I mean, it's very, it's on Wikipedia, euthanasia coaster on Wikipedia. So as you can see, the roller coaster is designed to drop you down a really big hill and go through ever tightening, smaller spirals so that by the time you get to the end of it, it's basically killed you through centrifugal force.
Nice. 2,
That's
mechanism of
terrible.
action.
Bet you guys didn't know that was a fucking thing, did you?
No.
Want to know how dark
Death
my sense of
coaster.
humor is?
Well, hey, you should look up the necro pants.
I've looked up necro pants.
Yes.
Is that something we can put on the show?
Yeah.
The necro pants, Mr. Devlin, if you please. I got to see these.
Yeah,
Death coasters, come on. That's
That's
pretty
good. That's
pretty
really good. Yeah. There they
Ah.
are.
Necro pants. What are we looking at? I can't see it.
No, we can't show this.
Oh, we can't?
100% not.
Oh, okay. So we can look at it. We just got to make sure it doesn't go into the cut.
Okay.
What the hell is this?
Eric, what is this?
I still don't know what I'm looking at.
It's somebody's skin of their legs and their penis and their feet, and they made pants out of them, and it's like an Eskimo sort of Inuit sort of situation, and their like head medicine person would be wearing these for spiritual reasons.
So literally like wearing the skin of somebody else.
Yeah, that's why the penis skin is dangling.
Oh, well, we got to have a dangling penis skin, right? I mean,
see, they blocked it out in that picture there on the far left.
yeah. Well, they did here too.
Oh, I guess they did.
Yeah, they did.
You read what it says.
Sorcered.
Like what?
I don't even understand that. Yeah. Necropants.
What?
They're magic.
And other tales of 17th century Icelandic sorcery. Iceland.
Ah.
Icelandic sorcery. Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool because one of the articles we're going to talk about is the Norse gods, right?
Yeah, get your
I think that's
necro
coming
pants
up.
on and get to the temple.
Right on, baby. That's how you feel the spirit of your elders right there. Wear their skin. Ugh. There was a movie called Silence of the Lambs.
Texas
Who knew
Chainsaw
Who
Massacre.
knew it was a religion at one time? What are we on to next here, Mr. Devlin?
IFLscience.com says an unknown ghost human species lives on in the DNA of people from West Africa.
Lives on in the DNA from people. This may be interesting. Okay, so the ancient ancestors of people living in West Africa appear to have interbred with a mysterious ghost hominin, another missing character in the story of humans. So there's like a whole race of humans that the DNA's there, but they haven't found any archaeological evidence of.
Right.
Isn't that how that sort of started with the Denisovans too?
Yes.
And then they started like looking for them, and and that's how they found them.
Yeah.
New research has suggested that some populations living in West Africa today have traces of an archaic hominin species laying within their DNA, much like how Neanderthal DNA, or my co-host over here's DNA, can still be found in many populations of non-African descent, and Denisovan DNA lives on in the people of Asian heritage. However, unlike Neanderthals and Denisovans, no physical remains of this ancient hominin have ever been found by modern science. It's the Atlanteans.
Maybe.
It's those Atlanteans, yeah.
It's like Q Gospels. When people ask what Q Gospels are, they call them mystery Gospels. It's where you can read a couple of different works that were obviously using a source that we know and have read to make their source. Like they were copying from that book and something else. And you can tell it was something else because in the two Gospels, there is a crossover, but we don't have
the bridging text.
Yeah,
probably burn up in the Library of Alexandria or something.
You never know. Yeah, but this is the same way though. It's like you can infer that there was some other species of hominid and that these people bred with them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the DNA in their system. But we have no idea.
Isn't this wild though? But you can say with DNA, you can say this should be there, and then go start looking for it, and then it turns up. That's like corroboration.
You can do that
right?
with science. That's science.
That's how science works.
Right. That's how they got black holes. They did the research.
They theorized them mathematically first.
Yeah,
right,
and they said, go look for this. It should be there, and it was.
Sure shit, there it is. What? Much science, wow. What are you doing?
You said it's much science, so I thought this
science.
Immediately.
Much science, wow.
Snarky Dog says, go fuck yourself. All right, where are we at, man? Where's the article? All right, this is getting weird now. Where's the article?
Where's the article?
Reported in the Journal of Much Science Advances today, researchers from the University of California, Los Angeles School of Medicine looked to find segments of archaic ancestry within the genomes of over 400 people from four West African populations from the 1,000 Genomes Project, including the Yoruba and Mende populations. I hope I'm pronouncing those correctly. Using computer modeling technique, they found that between 2 and 19% of their genetic ancestry was derived from an unaccounted for source, creating the big question, who was this? It's the Atlanteans. I don't think they're going to have any answers, or that would be another article. So, but it's just kind of cool that they found this in their
Martians.
You think so?
Maybe.
Venetians.
Alien DNA. Could be.
Could be. Probably.
Maybe.
Sort of. Could be.
Maybe. More or less.
Who knows? Devlin, what we got up next?
Medium.com says the CIA admits psychic abilities are real, but cannot figure out the science behind it.
Now, see, I was making money off that shit. I know it's real.
Okay, so you were. Yeah, it's legit. You can make a living at it if you're good enough at it, right? But just be careful, because if they find out where you work, they'll come and thin out the payroll.
Yeah, they will.
This comes from Medium.com. So, I know you said that.
Oh.
I'm discussing the source.
Well,
I'm considering the source. I don't think Medium.com is one of those places that are known as purveyors of excellence in scientific. Okay, I think they're sort of on the other end of that spectrum. Although this should be a fun article, I wouldn't be selling the farm based on anything that comes. I could be wrong. The CIA admits psychic abilities are real. Blah blah blah. There's a big picture of the central. That gives it legitimacy. Is the giant bitmap image of the seal of the United States Central
There's an
Intelligence
eagle
Agency.
on it.
It's not Space Force.
Eh.
According to a CIA document declassified on 8/7/2000, so 20 years ago, quote, coordinate remote viewing, CRV technology, 1981 through 83, submitted to the organization August 4th, 1983. Coordinate remote viewing, quote, utilizing through the methodologies that have been developed, works with remarkable precision. But the individuals who submitted it admitted that they were unable to explain in conventional terms why it is that the coordinate serves as a stimulus in the manner it does. Nevertheless, they were convinced that David Bohm's model of quantum mechanics provided a potentially plausible explanatory hypothesis. Now read that sentence again, or that piece, right? A potentially plausible explanatory hypothesis.
Well, what that means is somebody gave them an explanation that was just as confusing as the evidence they were looking at
Okay.
themselves and couldn't explain. So, sure, it could be this then.
For the mechanisms that make it possible. So, okay, let me tell you in layman's terms what a potentially plausible explanatory hypothesis is. Scientific terms, you ready?
Yeah.
Wild ass guess.
Yes.
is
Yeah.
what that is.
Things are so weird, it could possibly be this thing.
Devlin's drawing me geometric post-its and sticking it on the monitor.
Mm.
David Bohm was a controversial yet brilliant luminary in physics who argued that the entirety of the cosmos is populated with quantum black holes that lead from the, quote, explicate order of space-time to a realm that transcends space and time, which he referred to as the implicate order.
Or as Star Trek says, subspace.
Okay. These black holes were termed holospheres and hypothesizes the mechanism which connects the implicate order to the explicate order. Okay, I still don't know how this makes people psychic.
Well, it sounds like he's speculating there's some interdimensional area that time runs differently and that they're tapping into that.
You think?
Yeah.
From the perspective of a remote viewer, it is possible that the signal line we acquire is mediated by these holospheres, which connects us with an implicate
May
order.
I help you, sir?
No, we're good now. No, I don't want fries with that. It's conceptually more or less identical. Blah, blah, blah. Akashic records.
Oh, yeah.
You familiar with the? No, not that. I don't mean that.
I know.
You're just being a shit.
Yeah, like
I love it.
Like the Vedic texts
Yep.
and such things.
Quantum physics, quantum consciousness in the Akashic record.
Yeah, you can buy used Brahmanas too.
Like the ones that fly?
Yeah.
So, wait, what?
I'm just being silly.
Okay, good. The explicate order in which we ordinarily live and move and have our being is
The most complicated article we've ever read.
Now we're buying Vermonas. Unfolded from this implicate. Okay, fuck this. Okay, anyway, this guy is trying to say that there's some legitimacy to far viewing because of quantum physics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
I guess if
ghosts are possible because of quantum physics.
physics.
ESP is possible because of quantum physics.
Orco-R.
Quantum, yeah, Orco-R.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, essentially, if you can
Which
bridge
we still
it over
accept
there.
as nothing but a theory. An
Sure,
interesting one,
right.
but a theory nonetheless.
Right. But if you need magic in your science, it's quantum theory.
It's quantum theory.
Look,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's quantum theory, but it's quantum theory.
But the thing with that is I can't remember the guy's name. He's actually a physicist who said that what happens here with a lot of the woo is, and the way it gets bolted to quantum physics so easily, is because of the lack of understanding of what quantum physics actually is.
I would agree with that statement.
And he said that, with some really, it's not as mysterious as a lot of people make it out to be. Generally, the people trying to
Not
sell
as mysterious
it
as the documentaries make it out to be for that
Correct.
same reason.
Yeah. And if you take a little bit of time to do sort of to have an understanding of it, it eliminates a lot of the place where this woo stuff sort of bolts onto it. Nancy Reagan used them, it's reported, those far viewers.
She used them and
I've heard that.
astrologers, and she was all down with the New Age
Yep.
stuff.
They called them Nancy Reagan's witches. Yeah, I heard that. There's like I told you that's tied into the men who stare at goats.
Mm-hmm.
It's all tied. This is all tied in with the same group. That guy used to try to run through walls
Yeah.
and shit. It's all there. Cloudburst. There's a great movie. I think it's actually on Netflix or Amazon Prime right now, called The Men Who Stare at Goats. And look, it's obviously taken some artistic liberties with the story, but it's actually based on a true fucking story. And if you do any digging into the story and there's an investigative journalist that's done several like articles and I think he might have even done some books on this guy. That is this him? Is this
No, the first thing I thought of.
No, that ain't it. There's video of that colonel, I think, who tried to record himself running getting himself into this is an army officer. When I say the colonel, I don't mean like Sanders, like the chicken guy.
No.
I mean like a literal. This was a military funded program, type DARPA type program, and they basically just wasted a shitload of money. But they happened to find this guy that had control of a budget. And he was super into this and was looking for the next psionic weapon to use against the Ruskies, and was sort of, in my opinion, taking on this long charade of sort of trickery and some
pseudoscience
stuff, and spent then ultimately I think somebody in the military or somebody got a hold of this and went, wait a minute, we're funding what? And then, because you can see the program only lasted from like 81 to 84 or whatever it was. It wasn't around for a really long time. Look it up. I mean, it's worth looking. The men who
80s
stare
were
at
good
goats,
times. I will look it up.
And the far viewing and all of that.
I've seen a lot about the far viewing and remote viewing.
There's two ways to sort of tell that. I've heard the story from both sides. I've heard the story from the proponents, which is the way I first discovered it. And then there was a movie that had Ben Kingsley in it, where he was a far viewer, that came out somewhere in the 90s, late 90s. I can't remember what it's called. And it was like this thing, and then the exposés started coming out about it. So I've seen it. I actually learned it from the mysticism side of the conspiracy theory first. But it says, The Men Who Stare at Goats is a nonfiction work by John Ronson concerning the U.S. Army's exploration of New Age concepts and the potential military applications of the paranormal. This is the
same thing the Third Reich did.
Exactly. Yeah. The title, well, not exactly.
Well,
I shouldn't say that. Not for the same ends.
The search, but yeah, not
the
for the
search,
same
yeah.
ends or things necessarily.
And I suppose to be thorough, like the federal government's got to kind of have to have a contingency plan for pretty much everything if they're going to be representative.
They got one for UFOs.
Sure. And I know they stockpile helium for blimp warfare still to this day or something like that. I heard that one time, but yeah, right.
That's like the angels still wearing swords in heaven because of the split between Morningstar and Jesus and God, really.
Uh-huh. How's blimp warfare like?
Well, it's still an anachronistic thing, right? They have access to technology.
Why would
magic.
they have that?
Why
right?
would they have
Why
swords?
would they have swords?
Any more than
or
we would
weapons.
be stocking helium for blimp warfare, unless it just came down to that.
That's a legitimate and poignant connection.
Theological point.
That I would have never made. Yeah, now I get it. Oh, okay. I see where he's going with this. Deep sometimes, Mr. Smith. Deep, baby. This is why I love having you on my show, man. Make me think. The title refers to attempts to kill goats by staring at them and stopping their hearts. You know those goats that if you make a loud noise next to them, they go boink and freeze, fall over.
Those would have been
I think that's
encouraging.
what they were doing. They were working with that style of goat to see if they could mentally cause it to get frightened, so that they say, "Oh, that's a result." So they needed a goat that had a real hair trigger. The book is companion to a 3-part TV series broadcast in Britain on Channel 4, Crazy Rulers of the World, the first episode of which is also entitled The Men Who Stare at Goats. The same title was used a third time for a loose feature film adaptation in 2009. So you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
worth making books and movies about to poke some fun at.
But you know what's funny about this? What sort of jumps out at me about this is the same time, though, that when you wrote your thesis about things like the satanic panic, cult panic,
Yeah.
all of this shit was sort of also happening at the same
Yeah.
time. So this is kind of a neat thing that ties into
True.
the mindset of the nation at that time. Was they believed that Dungeons and Dragons, a lot of people granted people satanic magical powers, so much so that the government entities inside the federal government itself were duped into investing huge amounts of research money into.
I couldn't help
exploring.
but notice that started with a martial arts instructor who claimed to have been able to kill the goat.
That's correct, and he's still alive today, and he still does martial arts.
Does he still kill goats?
No, the last thing I heard he did was he killed a hamster.
Well, see, now Edison killed a elephant to prove that.
He's never been able to kill a goat like in a demonstrable controlled environment. He just. Sorry, but I cut you off. My bad.
No,
This guy's fascinating. Okay, okay. So let's move that thing. The book's first 5 chapters efforts of a handful of U.S. Army officers in the late 1970s and early 1980s to exploit paranormal phenomena, New Age philosophy, and elements of the human potential movement to enhance U.S. military intelligence gathering capabilities as well as overall operational effectiveness.
I remember when I was part of the human potential movement.
Right? Were you actually?
No.
Okay.
Now I'm just a slob.
Long live the slob. These include the First Earth Battalion Operations Manual from 1979 and a psychic spy unit established by Army Intelligence at Fort Meade, Maryland. Right, Fort Meade, in the late 70s. This was the Stargate Project, which the book never mentions by name. Ronson is put on the historical trail of the men who stare at goats, special forces soldiers who supposedly experimented with psychic powers against de-bleeded goats at Fort Bragg. Can you make that bigger, bud? Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Let's see, I'm all screwed up now where I'm at. Fort Meade, where's Fort Bragg? There it is. At the now decommissioned Goat Lab medical training facility.
Yeah.
So they built a structure, at least.
What you building, Goat Lab?
He examines and dispenses with several candidates for the legendary Master Sergeant, Chapter 2, who was reported to have killed a goat simply by staring at it in the earliest days of the program. A martial arts instructor named Guy Savili, that's him, claims to be the one. Yeah, this guy's a hoot. I think he's got YouTube videos teaching like slap martial arts techniques, and he's been on there's a guy on Rogan all the time that was the investigative reporter that talks about this guy that did like a lot of the research and stuff on him.
I recognize this guy.
Yeah, he's got like all these death techniques and stuff that he teaches people, like, finger touch death, but he's the guy that like basically had a unit of special forces, I think, using LSD and staring at goats to try to kill them.
Nice.
Yeah, I think there was also there's pictures of it.
Hashtag winning, huh?
Master Guy Savili's Kuntao, U.S. Special Forces Training Part 2. So, look, I don't want to make a whole show about this, right? There's a lot of really good stuff. If you haven't seen it, it's on. Like I said, you can check it out on Joe Rogan. There's a lot of YouTube videos about this cat, but this is the guy that had like one of the military officers convinced he could run through walls. If it wasn't him himself, it might have been. I don't think it was him though. I think it was somebody that he was associated with that would literally just like full speed run into his office wall, blam, and knock himself the fuck out. Like government funding, taxpayer money, hard at work, baby.
I don't want to debate him either.
No, not so much. All right, Devlin, move us on, bud. What we got coming up next here? Sorry, we went off on a tangent there. That was fun. I love that. That was one of my favorite conspiracy theories back in the day. I love that conspiracy. I did a whole bunch of reading, like going down the wormhole on that, learning about that stuff. It was really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, Bubba, what we got?
TechSpot.com says Open Bionics 3D printed hero arms is now available in the U.S.
TechSpot. I'll check her out. Shit, I want some of those. Through the looking glass, practically any boy who grew up in the 70s and 80s pretended to be Steve Austin, a.k.a. the Bionic Man.
Oh, yes, it's true.
Yeah, you don't have no frame of reference, bro. That was the shit. Granted, it would cost us 3/4 of our limbs, an eye, and $6 million. $6 million.
That's a deal.
But we didn't care. He was cool. Now bionics are here. They aren't as powerful as Steve Austin's, but it's still in its infancy. Open Bionics announced on Thursday that with the help of a partnership with Hanger Clinic, it has brought its hero arm prosthetic limb to the United States. The robotic arm used to only be available in the UK and France. The prosthetics are 3D printed, 3D fitted and printed, so Open Bionics can produce them faster and cheaper than any other advanced bionic limbs. The arms have myoelectric sensors that articulate the hand movements with lifelike precision. This is like some steampunk, or not steampunk, cyberpunk level shit, right?
Yeah,
Because this is like attaching to their myoelectric sensors, right? That's like a human-machine interface.
Yeah, I think isn't myelin what is
Coats your
wrapped around-
nerves. Myelin.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's
it goes-
also what's wrapped.
Why am I
ar-
rubbing my hand?
I
Like,
don't
see
know.
the myelin, Eric, over
Yeah.
here on the hand I'm rubbing? Do you see that?
It's some furry stuff.
What are we looking at?
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
I
but-
think it's called. No, I know what this series is called. But
Full
this,
Metal Alchemist, okay?
Yeah, this kid, Edward, lost
Yeah.
his arm, and had biomail, I think is what they called it, and his arm was.
Is this
tuned into his body.
is this in real life or in this?
No,
or
it's,
in
a,
this?
it's an anime.
Oh, okay.
It just reminded me of that because that's how they did it. They had to connect to his nervous system, and
So,
Mm.
well, of course, yeah. The good science fiction has that kind of component to it, doesn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. That's why Full Metal Alchemist is from what I understand, is really hugely popular, right?
yes.
Anyway, let's go back to Bionic Arm Chick. Where is she? Nope, that's not her.
Bionic arm chick.
Okay. Special sensors within the hero arm detect muscle movements, meaning you can effortlessly control your bionic hand with intuitive, lifelike precision, says Open Bionics. Also, haptic vibrations, beepers, buttons, and lights provide you with an intuitive notification. So it gives you feedback.
Yeah.
It's like when you squeeze something, it vibrates to let you know you're at full squeeze force, or it starts vibrating harder the harder you squeeze it or something.
It looks very elegant.
It does, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Looks like Doomfist's hand if it was smaller.
Right, like normally proportioned. Doomfist from Overwatch. Probably best of all for the kids is that the arms can be themed to their favorite heroes. The UK has seen Iron Man, Star Wars, Frozen, and Deus Ex. Is that how you pronounce that?
Deus Ex.
Deus Ex. I always get that wrong. Inspired versions of the limbs. Heck, even as an adult, I wouldn't mind having a working Deus Ex prosthetic, even if just as a collector's piece.
So no Terminator?
I bet people have already done it.
Ah.
Ooh, they're about $3,000.
Hey.
That's far less than its competitors, which can cost up to $95,000.
What?
Better yet, Open Bionics can fit and print an arm in about 40 hours. This is much faster than the weeks and months it takes for similar products. That's really cool.
You can sell your house for an arm.
Literally. Or a leg. Bump.
That's
Terrible joke, right?
the most unenthusiastic bump I've ever heard.
One of my kids is always talking about how she's interested in wanting to go and work in this field, designing these kind of things for people, giving them their mobility and shit back.
That's kind of cool.
Okay, speaking of terrible puns, before I forget about this, one of the things I wanted to talk about, I heard this the other day, because we always talk about the movie Dune
Mhm.
and the relaunch of it that's getting ready to come out and everything.
Yeah.
We're pretty excited about it. Like, we're going to see that bitch opening night, right?
That's a
For
no
sure.
shit docket for sure.
Yeah, no shit field trip.
Yeah.
But I saw this meme, and I don't know how true, because I haven't fact-checked this yet, but the meme says that the entire Dune cycle is based on a terrible pun. The spice is called melange. The spice confers power and longevity. Melange is a French word for variety. So, in other words, variety is the spice of life. Is that legit?
I think that is a French word that means variety, and I wouldn't say that it's a terrible pun.
Do you
I
think
wouldn't even call
that,
it a pun. I'd call it a truism or a maxim.
Do you think that it was a happy coincidence, or do you think when the books were written, that was a primary understanding
I would think he probably knew that for sure.
You think so?
Yeah.
That's nuts. Because I never picked up on that.
Here
Hold
we're
on.
gonna get translations to find out.
It means mixed.
Like mixed and what?
Variety. Yeah.
Variety.
Mixed.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. I didn't know that. I was like, mind blown.
I think he
So
knew.
You think he knew that? He did that on purpose?
I would think so. I
Because
mean,
what a magnum opus to be based on a turn of phrase or whatever,
or a
variety is the
maxim, a
spice
truism.
of life. Yeah.
I mean,
And then, variety
you
is
know.
the spice of life. And then he writes this book series that is the most crazy out of your head science fiction thing you could ever imagine. Variety. And
yeah.
that's nuts. Okay, I am truly humbled by this. I didn't think this was a real thing.
I wonder.
Frank Herbert was a genius on a whole nother level that I never expected.
We'll have to look that up and see if we can't see any direct evidence that he
Like,
intended
put it on.
that.
Well, we should do some research and see if we can find it for the next show.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the next article, Mr. Devlin? Probably wrap up on this one.
Oh, I like this one.
What- Go ahead.
BigThink.com says Iceland is officially worshiping Norse gods again.
And the villagers rejoice.
About fucking time, right? I'm in. What do we got, man? We got some cool Nordic gods, though, don't we?
Yeah.
For the first time since the Vikings sailed, the Icelandic public will soon be able to worship classical Norse gods like Odin, Thor, and Frigg. Frigg got kind of fucked on the name there. At public temple built in their honor. What's Frigg's like? Probably the guy or something.
Freaking kidding me.
Now there's going to be a bunch of Icelandic people. The 2 Icelandic people that listen to this show.
You grab your necro pants and head down to the new government-sponsored Pantheon Temple.
And worship Frigg.
Yeah.
What we got here? Frigg wears many hats in Norse mythology. She is often described as foremost among the goddesses and was the wife of Odin.
I think in the Marvel movies they called her Frigga.
Frigga?
Yeah.
Frigga.
She was the queen of the Aesir and the goddess of the sky. She was also known as the goddess of fertility, household motherhood, love, marriage, and domestic arts. Domestic arts, whatever that means.
You folding those towels correctly?
Is that what it means? Or does it mean running a household?
I mean, essentially, yes, on both of those.
I don't think it'd be.
Yes, running a household, and are you folding those towels correctly?
I guess it depends on how you interpret that. I'm sure there's some people that would interpret that differently. For the first time, we already said that. Look, a big volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A typical Icelandic feature.
For the first time since the Vikings sailed, the Icelandic public are worshiping classical Norse gods, like all the ones I mentioned before. Freya and other gods of the Old Norse pantheon became an officially recognized religion exactly 973 years after Iceland's official conversion to Christianity.
Through 973 years
So
later,
this
they're
is-
coming to their senses and being like, "No, this is
Well,
crazy."
If I'm reading this correctly, it's like that the sort of the state accepted religion was Christianity for almost 1,000 years, and they just went, nah.
Nope, we're going back to what we were doing
We're going back
before.
to what we're doing before. You all fuckers get out. We're done. An Icelandic association called
Yeah.
which promotes faith in the Norse gods and is headed by High Priest Hilmar Orn Hilmarsson, of course that would be his name, raised sufficient funds and received permission from the government to construct the first such temple in 1,000 years. Observers wonder how the rise of neo-pagan traditions will affect the reception of Christianity.
This is what Himalayan.
Hamalainen. Anthony, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Hamalainen.
I feel like he should be worshiping like Thor or something.
Because of he's like Greek, isn't he?
I'm not sure. He just seems like the kind of dude that would totally be.
Oh,
into
because
that sort of
like
thing.
his thing,
Well,
yeah.
the metal and
The energy,
just
and-
who he is as
yeah.
a guy. I mean, he just seems like he would be
Worship.
interested
He
in
looks like he'd be a fucking priest or something.
right.
you know?
Yeah.
Eating the minions of devil.
I'd be like, yeah.
Odin's power. He'd sing it a lot better than me, though, with a lot more.
Dude, Manowar is going to make a pilgrimage there.
Right?
They've got to.
Professor Luke Timothy Johnson at Emory University says early Christians frequently misinterpreted virtuous gods as demons.
Whoops.
Quote, Christian mission has always positioned itself as a rescue operation, that people were in desperate straits, were indeed under the influence of demons. It is impossible to read the reflections of Marcus Aurelius and not recognize a profound mode of religious expression. It is impossible not to recognize that paganism is the furthest thing possible from the demonic.
True.
It is indeed a form of religious expression from which we can learn much, and at the very least, we need to respect. It's like
Totally agree.
I've heard that it's like the fastest growing religion now in Europe, too.
We just got a boost with this
Europe.
government-sponsored temple.
For sure, right? So, yeah, I've heard this like in the UK. I shouldn't have just said Europe; it was too broad. But in the UK, I think it's now the number one fastest growing religion, and it's like poised to surpass some of the other like mainstream religions. It's really this new age sort of religious spiritualism thing is really kind of really taking hold. Lots of crystals, lots of essential oils, lots of that kind of stuff, you know.
It's kind of cool. I mean, I think in terms of accoutrements and trappings and that sort of thing, I find it to be much more interesting and utilitarian than anything Christianity.
But certainly a
has
lot
to
more
offer.
fun. No, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot more. It's a lot
probably
less.
so,
Fuck
yeah.
you. You're going to hell. Everything you do is bad. You know,
Yeah.
it's not that.
Yeah,
So
more karmic and reincarnation
yeah.
based, and yeah.
it's a lot more palatable, and just as obviously, there's entire societies that have grown up with these alternative sort of ethoses and ideologies. So if they were so toxic and deadly, they wouldn't exist anymore. So
I'm set for that religion. I'm set for some pagan religions. I know a lot about those sort of things.
well, you've said that before,
Yeah,
right?
So
yeah,
I'm set for that if that's going to be the new style.
like you're
coming
okay
back.
with it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because
Maybe even more prone to go to church if that would be the case.
what's funny because the spiritualism movement is an interesting sort of place where you can not have deity but still believe in like it's this real wishy-washy sort of spot, man.
Right wing Christianity has become very bizarre lately.
What do you mean?
They just seem really extremely bizarre and different from the teachings and precepts that I'm aware of
Oh, God.
in the Bible.
Well, let's not go down any
Right.
Okay,
No
'cause-
further down the road, but you know what I mean,
I
man.
understand. Yeah,
It's like
well, I find
not
that
palatable much anymore.
I find I struggle a lot from the academic understanding of the Bible itself, and then the people that are claiming to be adherents to its writings.
Yeah.
There's a lot in there that it doesn't make any sense.
And Gnosticism has always been more appealing as a form of Christianity to me, and it's much closer to paganism
Yeah.
compared to other forms of Christianity.
I know a lot of people that are into it, man. We've had a lot of guests on this show that are into it. Susan Cody, she's pharmacute.
Mhm.
There's been, I'm fascinated by the subject matter. I like the preset. Like I said, we've done a lot on comparative metaphysics anyway. But it's kind of interesting that Joseph Campbell again, right? Need to update the myths.
Yeah.
And I think that what's happening today is that what we're seeing is that the myths no longer fit the society. They no longer. A lot of things have been either just completely obsoleted because of technology or whatever, and it's hard to bolt these things on to the way that humanity's progressing.
Yeah.
So some of it, like a scab, is sort of falling off, and other things are sort of sticking, and it's a vetting process, right? Just
So, I think that Scorsese and Spielberg would hate me
they've never met
for
you.
saying this.
Oh, okay.
But the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the stories that they're telling
Yeah.
is exactly that kind of reinvention of myth that I think Joseph Campbell was referring to.
I agree. Comic books too, graphic novels.
Well,
all of
especially
this, yeah.
these last shows where they've really combined the whole idea of the divine with things like cyber
Mm-hmm.
robots and things like that. There's a certain blending that's very modern about it, but it still has these archetype figures.
Right.
And then, more importantly, it shows how these archetype figures try to fit themselves into what is considered to be humanity.
Right.
And that's what myth essentially does. It explains your humanity to you because it's a universal thing. So if you can find a way to reinvent the archetypes that make them believable or compelling,
Yeah.
and certainly they've done that with these shows for the majority of viewers and stuff,
Yeah.
then maybe even without realizing what's happening to you, you're still watching these archetypes go through these stages of humanity, and you're still getting something very important and deep and rooted out of it, I think.
It's funny because I was, we've talked about this though, being raised in sort of a weird authoritarian religious upbringing, and things like going to the county fair and having someone do tarot cards or something was just, you were immediately tempting the hand of God and blaspheming, and you were damning your soul to eternal hell kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Once I figured out that things like tarot are just like explorations of the major archetypes. Don't they even call it the arcana or something like that? So whether it has any kind of mystical powers or not is really almost irrelevant in the fact that it triggers you. It uses the major archetypes of humanity to get people to think about things in ways maybe they wouldn't consider thinking about
Sure.
them otherwise.
Right.
So I kind of look at it as like a Rorschach sort of test, or
And less
along
like
those lines.
precognition.
Unless, well, definitely no woo. I don't see any woo in it at all. However, I would be remiss to say that I didn't see any value in it.
Sure.
I think that that they can be for a methodology of if for nothing else, if just a methodology to get people to sort of review things and use the major arcana or the major human condition archetypes to sort of explore thoughts and ways to think about things, or look at things in different ways, different lights, can help break loose log jams in people's lives.
Yeah.
That maybe they would otherwise miss.
Sure.
And so that's what I mean. Like, I wouldn't sit here and say, yeah, it's all bunk, it's all crap, it's all garbage. It's only garbage to someone that doesn't believe it has any merit whatsoever.
Sure, or wouldn't use the tools in front of them.
However, the way it's designed, I could see some very therapeutic, significantly therapeutic usages for it.
Of course, the Christian argument against that is if you are using it for divinatory purposes to find out the future, any information that you're supposedly getting about the future is handed to you by demons and is misleading because only God knows the future.
Right, yeah.
And that's the precept under which why you're not supposed to be dealing with, these things. Like, of course, there was many, many, many more back in the day,
I know there's a lot of ministers, man, that are always telling us when the world's going to end.
This is true.
Okay, and I've never understood, again, how that pans out, but it seems like it's like, look, don't get your woo from anybody but us. Like, that the whole reason for the structuring of that is anybody else elbowing in on their,
essentially
on
that's
their territory.
Essentially that's it. The difference is they're trying to figure out what God's date is as opposed to figure out what the date is.
I'm certainly, I mean, they were competing to the point of killing each other. Of course, there's, you can't, that's the first sign that you're in a cult. When you're not allowed to look at anything else and everybody else is lying to you but the very specific people.
Yeah.
It's like, if that's happening to you, you're not in a religion, you're in a cult.
Yeah.
That's how it works. And then you don't think it's nefarious, but it always ends up the same way with people in in South America drinking Kool-Aid or offing themselves to hop on comets or whatever.
Flavor-Aid.
Flavor-Aid, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even Kool-Aid. Yeah, Kool-Aid gets a bad rep out of
It does.
Yeah, they never did that.
And that's terrible because Kool-Aid's been pure and has been used in only church ceremonies.
Or children's events.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're going to wrap up there unless you guys got anything else. No, Mr. Devlin? Mr. Devlin's got the sad face on back there, bored face. He's got his feet up. I'm jealous. I can't relax like that, so I'm going to make fun of you. His toes. Anything else? Can't think of anything?
Oh, I mean, yeah, no.
Well, we got some more shows coming up. We know we're going to be back at this, I think, here in 2 days. And then possibly, again, you're vaping in the mic again. I even put the Post-it note up there.
I'm inhaling and turning to the fireplace.
And possibly Kenny and Greg on Sunday if we can get it pulled together as our podcasting buddies. So that could be fun too. So
I think that would be very fun.
We're gonna try it, man. I don't know how it's gonna pan out with the new layout and setup and everything. The way we've been changing things, I don't know how we're gonna get people into the studio, but we're gonna bring podcasters in to try it the first time.
Do you want to sit on their lap or do you want them to sit on our lap?
Yeah, I wouldn't sit on either of their laps.
Okay,
because trust me, those two, I'm sure it'd get kinky real quick.
got
We're
you.
in for an adventure. If you haven't listened to Thought Dumb Podcast,
I have.
Okay, that's what I mean. We're in for an adventure.
That's why I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun, man, if we can get this pulled together. These guys are so funny. So funny, especially the two of them together. They're a riot, but all right, well, then we'll wrap up there, man. So we got some more shows coming up, I guess is what I'm getting at. 1,258 spins of the Chihuahua later. We're going to wrap it up. Yep. Thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out at www.noshitcast.com. It's KNOWSHITCAST.com. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Give us a share. We'd really appreciate it. And keep those comments and shit coming on YouTube and on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and now on minds.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch y'all next time. Bye.